Hey, hello everyone. Welcome. I'm so excited to be here with my friend Jamie this morning to share a little bit more about hypnobirthing with you. If you are new to me, I'm Jodie Solberg. I'm a certified master hypnotherapist and a hypnobirthing educator. And my focus and passion is on helping women to heal from trauma and anxiety and help to prevent or have early intervention for future trauma for women and their children. And I was so fortunate and honored to work with Jamie and her husband to help them learn hypnobirthing for her upcoming birthing. And it is not her first. She has had many in the past, but I wanted to bring her on live with me today to share a little bit about her past experiences and also how different she feels going into this new experience with birth, because I know it's been a few years. It's been several years since her last birth.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I know you had some feelings around that. And so, Jamie, I would love for you just to introduce yourself and share a little bit about your past experiences and then how you were feeling before we did hypnobirthing going into this new pregnancy.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. And it is likewise an honor to have gone through your program because, the transformation that I feel inside of me, like just completely gives me the confidence to go through this birth. And like you said, this is not my first, maybe shocking to some people, but this is actually my eighth birth. I have 7 children, and this will be my eighth baby. And you would think that I would, with that many kids, that I would be a professional birther at this point. But we definitely all have our birth stories and we all have our birth traumatic experiences. And this is why I really am passionate about even just sharing what you were doing, because I know just from being in relationships with other women, having babies, and what I've gone through personally with my births, that this is really empowering knowledge. This is really empowering philosophy. And it really has shifted for me, this birth process. This is the first time that I'm looking forward to birth. And I know that some people would be like, who looks forward to birth? But I truly am. I'm really excited about giving birth this time. I would never have said that in the past because it was always a terrifying thought. And I always had this philosophy that you go through the first part of your pregnancy going, oh my God, this thing has to come out. Oh my God, this can't come out. I got to go through, and you're fearing that you're going to, go through this painful process. I always consider it like a freight train going through your body. But then you get to the point where you're so miserably being pregnant, you're just like, just get it out, and you're just ready to go through the process and shed. It's a different mindset than what I have now, and truly has just even transformed my thinking, my mindset, everything for my birth process to prepare me for this birth. So so thank you for the opportunity to go through this. And, like you said, I have had some crazy birth stories. I will say that I have had all of my babies at home. So all 7 of them had been born in my home. And I've had everything from the long, gruesome, my first birth was my worst birth. I was having this home birth, and I broke my pubic bone during the birth process. And we didn't know that I had broke my pubic bone. And so all I knew is that I could not be in any position but my back. And it made for the most longest drawn out birth process that was just horrific and painful. And that was my experience of, is that what every birth is going to be like?
Mhm.
And, went through a lot of just trauma, being terrified that I was going to experience that again. It wasn't until that my firstborn was born that he had this massive hematoma on his head. And I took him in to go have it observed. And he said, yeah, he probably hit something on the way out. And I'm thinking back, remembering hearing the pop that happened when the pain started. They thought it was my water breaking, but my water didn't break. and like going through this, it was really him not engaged into the birth canal, and the position that they had me squat in made him come down really fast and hard on that pubic bone and hit his head on my pubic bone and cracked it. So when he was telling me that, I was like, is that why I still can't cross my legs? Is that why I can't do stairs? Is that, like, is that why I can't walk right now? But I wasn't sure, like, because it was just a painful experience. So I continued to have babies. I had better and better births. But, each one of them was still, I think the main thing that I experienced through each of my births, even though I really can't complain because most of my births were around 3 hours. And I even had my last birth was about 45 minutes long from start to finish, from being dilated to 1 to 10, having a baby. But I think that the main thing was the amount of anger I felt during the process. I had zero tolerance for anybody. And I am like the least angry person you've ever met. I have a amount of, like, so much grace and so much love in my life. And, I'm very patient, and kind and all of these things. But when I went into the birth process, it was like, probably fear that I had to stay on top of, that I would cause me to be angry anytime someone disrupted my concentration. I think that's, really the best way to describe it. And I hated that. I would always, like, walk away, from the births going, man, I was so angry. I was so frustrated through the entire process. Every little thing irritated me. I wanted to strangle people, you know? And I hate that. I hate that my babies were born in that emotional state. And just, I think that was one of the struggles. But you really helped me through that with hypnobirthing. And I know I want to give you a chance to kind of explain, hypnobirthing, especially to my audience, because they may have some, I since I've been talking about this, they're like, yeah, well, aren't you, like, being completely hypnotized, and, someone in the room that's hypnotizing you and you're not aware of what's happening? I'm like, no, not at all. So, I want you to bring some clarity to it, just, to kind of explain. But I think what I'm most grateful for through the hypnobirthing is to really going in and removing those emotions that I had from my past traumatic experiences, because I don't feel like those are at the surface level during this pregnancy or during this birth. And so, I'm grateful for that. But will you explain, because you explain it way better than me, of what hypnobirthing entails, just for my audience?
Absolutely. And yeah, that release of that fear,
Yeah,
any anger, frustration. I remember, in hypnobirthing, one of the first things we do in classes is ask, what's the first thing you think of when you think of birth? Or what's the first thing you think of when you think of hypnosis? And like you said, sometimes people do have those misconceptions that you're just completely out of it and not in control and not aware. And that is not the case. And for you, it was that anger and that frustration that was
yeah,
coming up for you. And I remember you saying, I feel like I'm bracing myself to be beat up by baseball bats. Like,
yeah.
every time
You
I go in
do.
person, because that first experience, that sets
Yeah,
the bar for you. And, it became your
hmm,
normal. Like you said, you were afraid that every time you were going to experience something like that. And it can be really traumatic for you
yeah,
and for your babies, when they're in that type of a situation. Obviously, with your son, my goodness, you both went
yeah,
through a lot of trauma with that first birth. And so, helping you to release that so that then it doesn't have to be your experience this time, I think is
right.
such a huge thing. I've actually had women tell me when they learned about hypnobirthing, like, oh, I was so scared to have another child. And now I actually feel like I can, because
Yeah,
I know that there's an option, that there's another way out there. And, hypnobirthing is as much of a philosophy of birth as it is a series of different types of techniques.
yeah,
It's been around for my whole lifetime. It's,
yeah,
evidence based, gentle, really safe, and proven program, and what it is it consists of a number of techniques with deep relaxation, self
Yeah.
hypnosis,
Right.
and we can talk about what that is, and education about our natural birth process and our bodies and our babies and our hormones, and
Yeah.
well,
I
they
think
all work together. Yeah.
I think that was the key for me is the philosophy behind it. When
Mhm.
you connected the philosophy and how God actually designed our bodies to give birth, that was transforming to me to sit there and say, that makes sense. It just
Mhm.
connected for me to see the natural process of birth and knowing that that we were designed for this. Like this has a natural element, and here's where it went south for us, you
Yeah, we
know?
talk about the history of where things shifted.
Yeah,
Absolutely, and I remember your husband's first thoughts when I said, "What do you think of when you think of birth?" was, "I grew up on a farm. Why isn't it like that?"
yeah,
Why
yeah,
isn't it
yeah,
just natural and calm and smooth, and what happened? And so we do
yeah,
go over that, and I think that that's really important to be aware of, because even today in our media, what do you see when you watch TV and someone's giving birth?
yeah,
It's rarely are they calm or comfortable in any way. They're usually in this terrible position
yeah,
and screaming their heads off and in all
yep,
this pain. And so that's continuously put in our minds. And then everybody, when you tell them you're pregnant, wants to tell you all the horror stories.
yep,
And so it just
yep,
causes so much fear. And so, we really are aiming in hypnobirthing to return women to that natural art of birthing in a way that you can connect to your own innate instincts, right?
yeah,
And trust your body, and trust that your body and your baby know how to be born in
yeah,
safety and with ease. And, it's really based on the belief that that severe discomfort or pain does not need to be just this accepted part of birthing, like, oh, it's just part of it. That's just how it
yeah,
is. This is not
right.
how it has to be.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, like I said, I think that's the most empowering part is just realizing that. Um, and because you do, through the birth process, there is a struggle for control.
Mhm.
There is a massive struggle for control over the pain, control over your environment, controlling that you're safe. Um, you know, it's it is and that and maintaining that control while you're focused on this baby and controlling fear coming in, like it's all these different areas that are in the most crucial time too, so I
Mhm.
think that laying that foundation with you as far as what is natural and what has gone wrong, um you know even just the fact that empowering me to know that pushing is there's a certain way that should happen. And in the past I have literally pushed so hard for at times, like with my first one, I pushed for like 3 or 4 hours and exhausted and just completely depleted myself of energy and was just exhausted. And then I had the process with my youngest, who it, it really was a bizarre experience of not hardly even pushing at all with him.
Mhm.
And I think that naturally what happened was, and this is one of the things that really resonated with me, I think that the easiest birth that I had was my last one. It was 45 minutes long, literally from being dilated to one to having a baby in my arms, 45 minutes. And I think that I naturally, by circumstances, I had to go into some of the hypnobirthing techniques.
Mhm.
And but I didn't know what they were,
Yeah,
so
just
as
naturally.
you started yeah, so I just went into it and did that, and he was probably my best birth. And So now that I know that that's part of the philosophy and the
Mhm.
how to through hypnobirthing, man, I feel confident. I feel fearful free. I'm like, there's just so many different areas that I'm super excited about this birth. And honestly, when we talked about, my husband being a part of it, this will be my husband's. So we're from a blended family. This is our first baby together.
Oh, yep, we lost your audio. It's okay.
There you go. Are you there?
There, back. Mhm.
Pod died. But for him, he's had all C-section experiences in his other
Mhm.
children, and I, I, my fear going into this birth when I met you was that I'm going to be angry and lash out at him during this process. And that is the last thing I want to do. I love him so much. I want him to have such a great experience at this birth and give him that beautiful, experience. But I was fearful that I'm going to hurt him during this, and so having that fear gone, I'm really excited to be able to go through and know that he's going to be such an important part of this birth. That's
Mhm.
another thing is I didn't I never had a place for my other children's father to be in the birth. It was just like, back off, leave me alone. He didn't know what to do. He wasn't equipped, to help me through that. And it was very challenging, and I didn't want to be that way with my husband. And so that feels empowering, to know that he has a role, and the way you have equipped him to have a role in this birth process is really feels, I feel taken care of, it just
Yeah.
very encouraging.
Yeah, he really truly is your partner in this and your advocate. And they said, learn the techniques with you so that he can support you during that. And so, when we're talking about everything that you mentioned, there's that fear, tension, pain syndrome that happens when we do have the fear and we do have the anxieties. And then that causes a cascading effect in our bodies where then it causes us to tense up and have pain. And when we have that nervous system activation, right, when we could go into that with fear, into breathing with fear and go into that fight, flight, freeze mode, that
Oh, I would.
takes away from all of your body's natural processes and it kicks up all of those, pain and tension inducing hormones. That is not what we want during birthing at all. And so, one of the big things with hypnobirthing and the self hypnosis, we teach these breathing techniques, relaxation techniques,
Yes.
affirmations, all of these different pieces so that you can be calm and comfortable and still be very aware.
Yeah.
You are able to interact in a positive way, but you can also tune everything out. And you had mentioned that, in your last birth, you kind of naturally went into this place. And I've had other women tell me that too, that they're like, I don't know what I did. I just went into this zone and I don't know how to recreate it. And
Yeah.
so I've had, other women come to me and say, okay, I'm getting ready. I just spoke to a woman last week who's having twins, and that's how she felt with her first. And she's like, okay, now that it's getting closer, I'm getting a little freaked out. I'm having twins. This is like a whole new experience. And I don't know how to do what I did naturally, because there are some women who do have that experience where they're like, okay, I tuned it all out. I like focused, I breathed, I did all of these things, and it was a great positive experience. How do I have that again so that I don't have that negative experience? And so we teach you how to intentionally do that. And so that's wonderful that you can now feel equipped of like, okay, all those things that were more positive about your last birth, you can now recreate that because hypnobirthing does reduce the time, right? The hours. It can take down the phases of labor by several hours and allow you to utilize the natural processes of your body to breathe your baby down rather than, like you said, that forced pushing for long, really exhausting periods of time. So we're not holding our breath. We're not pushing. We're not causing all that pelvic floor damage. It eliminates the need for a lot of different interventions because you are working with your body's natural processes versus at cross purposes.
Yeah.
When we are doing all of these things that work really instead of with our bodies, kind of against us, then that fear, tension, pain syndrome starts. And interestingly enough, it has the same acronym as failure to progress, because that's generally why there's failure to progress, is because there's that fear, tension, and pain. And so, being able to be more refreshed, awake, alert, energized in that birthing process so that you can have that positive experience of receiving your baby and, having that bonding time is wonderful. And it just makes for a safer, less painful, and less traumatic experience for both of you.
Yeah.
When you're able to, feel like you are in control, you've got this, you have your birthing companion, you're working with your baby, you're all bonding in this experience, and you feel like you know what's happening, you know what's going on in your body, you know that you have tools and resources to rely on and that you can utilize anytime you need to. That puts you in the driver's seat instead of
Yeah.
feeling like you're having something done to you, which can be, like a very traumatic experience. It You being an advocate for yourself of like, okay, we can work together, we can do this, I've got this, and that takes away a lot of trauma just in and of itself. And so, it's just a beautiful experience, as it should be, instead
Yeah.
of being, something that's filled with anger, frustration, and pain. It feels like you can be more safe and calm and, you know, being in that positive experience where you're feeling in control, your birth companion knows what to do and how to support you and doesn't feel like an outsider,
Right.
of I don't know what to do, I don't know how to help, or I just need to get out of the way. They can be your advocate, they can be your support system. And that's one of the things that I love, is that it brings people together and makes them feel like they are partners in this, that they're not isolated, they're not alone.
Yeah. Yeah. I do too. I think that that's really important. I mean, even just looking at my sister's births and, the husband's not knowing and then what to do or how to contribute, it's sad because now seeing the important role that they can play and they can be a part of it, I think that it's a bonding experience, or will be a bonding experience now for me to go through this. So yeah, I'm super excited about it and highly recommend your program, and shout me from the rooftops, because I feel like every woman needs to hear this, regardless of what they decide to go through for, where they're having their baby or who's delivering their baby. Regardless of any of that, they don't have to have a home birth in order to experience hypnobirthing. Um, they can be in a hospital with a doctor, with a gynecologist, whatever, to go through the process. And this is something entirely different than, like you said, it's a philosophy. When you have that philosophy, it's that foundation, that you are empowered to be able to go through it and advocate for yourself in a place of knowing and a place of peace. And that's pretty important. It's one of the other aspects, you guys talk about the just these the baby's needs after the birth.
Mhm.
I mean, those are foundational for the baby's life, and to have that knowledge too, through the hypnobirthing it's phenomenal. To be able to experience that. And I also, one of the other fears was always the post birth, like after birth
Mm,
pains afterwards. The more kids you have,
yeah.
from what I was told, the more kids you had, the worse those after pains can be. And so every birth that I would have, I'd have a fear.
Down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would have that fear of like, okay, how bad is it going to be this time? Because last time it almost killed me. Like, I would rather go through birth again than go to the after pains. Um, and to know that these techniques and this philosophy can be brought over into the afterbirth process is comforting. It is peaceful. Like I see that, and it's empowering to know that that I can have, peace and a good afterbirth process. So I think that that's really powerful. And like I said, I think all women should know this. It just need, that are going through, pregnancy. They should know this information and be empowered by it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, these techniques can be applied through birth and after, because like you said, it can be challenging. The more births that you have, it can be a little bit more work for your uterus to get back to that normal size. And so that's why you often have a lot of those pains, especially if you're when you're breastfeeding. And so we go through that bonding process
Oh no.
born and after they're born, how that's such an important process,
Yeah.
and help you to feel more comfortable and calm. And then you can enjoy that bonding with your baby after it's born, and when he or she is there with you, you don't want to be in pain and suffering through. And I know that that was something that was a big challenge for you, was I want to be able to enjoy that bonding time and that first breastfeeding. I don't want to feel like I'm gritting my teeth and in pain the whole time. And so
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you now have those tools and those resources to lean on to help you with that and feel like, okay, I've got this. I know what to do during that. And that feeling for women is so key, of just feeling like you charge. When we talk hypnosis, you are in charge of everything that's happening and you are aware, right? Like you said, you're not just like out and somebody else is in control in any way. With hypnosis, it's all self hypnosis. And so it really is just that deep relaxation that, again, we're wired to be able to access. Our
Yeah.
bodies are able to, birth naturally. Our brains are able to relax and to slow down those processes and to be able to have that heightened awareness and focus and control, because our minds truly do direct our bodies. We're taught so much in our society for some reason that our minds are over here and our bodies or something, and it's not. They're completely interconnected. And so we have a lot more control than we ever think that we do over how our body's going to respond. And so just going in with that positive expectancy
Mhm.
alone makes such a difference. And then feeling like you're your own advocate, that's another big piece that helps to take that trauma out and to put birthing back in the hands of women, and feeling like they can trust themselves, their bodies, and they can trust that they know what to do. And I think that's been a huge piece that's been taken out of birth, because often the doctors are just talking and they don't, you know, like educate very well about what's going on in our bodies and what we're going to be going through. And so that fear of the unknown is a huge piece. And then you're going through and they're saying, oh, I'm going to do this or that. And you don't know what that means. And so in hypnobirthing, like you said, Jamie, what I love that you mentioned is it doesn't have to be an all natural home birth. You can be having a C-section even and do a hypnobirthing C-section. You can be induced if you have some special circumstances, but we teach you all along the way, step by step. Here's the different ways that they do inductions. Here's how each one of them can impact your birthing. Here's how to handle that. Here's how to have those conversations with your doctor so you understand and you can make informed decisions. Here's how to be your own advocate. And so often that has been taken away from women, of us having that say in what's going on with our medical decisions, and how to get the answers that you're looking for, and how to understand what's safe and right and appropriate under any circumstances for your baby. And so, yeah, whether you're at home, you're at a birthing center, a standalone one in a hospital, or you're going into it with some medical challenges, right? Some special circumstances and some interventions. Hypnobirthing will educate you all the way through the process so that you feel like you're in that driver's seat.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think that's what it's done for me exactly. It's made me feel like I'm in the driver's seat, So it's very, very empowering, very encouraging. So yeah, thank you for all that you've done. And like I said, for my friends and family that are watching this, that on my social media, because I know we're live streaming to a couple different areas, because I seriously just want to get the message out about this. I'm so passionate about it. Where can my audience find you, Jodie?
So I am going to drop my direct link. So if people go to, so my business is psychedupsuccess.com. So I'm going to put that up, and then they can find information all about hypnosis, hypnotherapy, hypnobirthing, all the things. So if they have questions, that's a great place to go to learn more about what is hypnosis and what is, this whole process. Because like you said, a lot of times people have a misconception, right, about what that is, that somebody else is in control and somebody else is making you less aware versus you actually truly being more aware and more in control. And then on there, if they just go to work with Jodie, they can click right directly on the hypnobirthing link, and that will take them to the hypnobirthing website, my page on the site. They can sign up for info sessions or see when the next classes are. And then they can also learn all about hypnobirthing itself and that philosophy and check it out. It's a series. We should say that it is a series of 5 classes. And so we typically do those over 5 weeks. So, ideally, a lot of women go through this between, 20 and 34, 35 weeks, somewhere in there. However, it can work no matter where you are. So the sooner you do it, the longer you have to practice all of the breathing and the visualizations and the affirmations and your self hypnosis. But also, if you're towards the end, we can condense it down, we can make it work, and anybody can benefit. I did have somebody kind of get a hold of me who was literally like, I thought I was fine, and now I'm due next week and I'm scared. And so I said, okay, let me arm you with some tools to help you, get you through. And so I'm happy to answer any questions, no matter where someone's at in their pregnancy. And then Jamie, share with everybody, when is your due time? How much longer do you have?
Oh my goodness. I'm due the 1st of October. So I've only got probably 8 weeks left, something like that, 7 or 8 weeks left.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just getting close.
So excited for you. Yeah. And I cannot wait to hear all about it. We're definitely going to have another chat after the baby has arrived, so that way we can go through what your experience is after. But it's amazing to hear how much better you feel. That is the goal, is for you to feel calm and confident and comfortable going into this birth, so you and your husband can have this beautiful experience together with this first baby together. And so thank you again for allowing me to be a part of that journey and for trusting me to work with you. And I love being a part of people's stories, and this experience is transformational. It really is, when you go through hypnobirthing and you realize that you don't have to be angry, you don't have to be afraid, you don't have to be bracing yourself, that you can learn how to relax through this experience. It changes everything. So thank you for saying yes.
Yeah. And then it doesn't have to happen to you.
Yes.
I've always felt like birth just happened to me. Like, this is what I went through, So I'm super excited for this one, and applying all of the knowledge, and just to say too, again, you were saying you help people along the way at any stage. The earlier, the better, I would say, because I feel like, now that I've gone through the course, that even in this last 8-week period, I am more in tuned with my body and my body's needs through this process. And I've been able to practice to quickly slip into relaxation. It's so funny because breathing techniques, get so focused on, okay, it's time to do the breathing technique. I'm having a contraction. I slip into it. And then I'm so focused on the breathing that I'm like, oh, yeah, the contraction's gone. I was just enjoying the breathing, you know? And then
Yeah,
even,
it's past. Yeah. And you don't
yeah,
even realize it. Yeah, that's true. The longer you have to practice,
yeah,
the better, of course. I mean, the best time is sooner than later. The next best time is now. So,
yep,
wherever you're at, it can benefit you.
yeah,
And the more you practice with self hypnosis and with the breathing, the more comfortable and natural it will become. And the deeper into that relaxation you'll be able to go. And so it is a great thing to be able to start sooner so that you have that time to have that practice. And then, like you said, when your practice labor happens and you have these little practice surges that come up, then you can be practicing your techniques and you'll feel very confident by the time it's
yeah,
ready for your birthing day in
yeah,
everything that you're practicing. So yeah, I agree. And there's a lot of materials. I think that's probably important to share too, is that we have the live classes and we do a lot of practice in classes, but there's so many techniques. There's massage techniques, the breathing techniques, the visualizations, audio downloads that you get that you can use to practice, our book and workbook. And, so there's so many materials that are going to help you with all of these techniques and give you all the education and all the information that you need. There's also so much in there about figuring out what your birth preferences are. Again, you're in the driver's seat. And so you're able to, visualize the birth that you want to have. You can set out all of the guidelines of here's my preferences. This is what I want in any situation that comes up. This is the decision that I want to make. And you can share that with your caregivers. You can share that with your birthing partner. You can share that with everyone so that you do feel prepared and you're
yeah,
mentally and physically prepared. You know how to create the environment that's going to be conducive to the birth that you want. Like all of those things. So yeah, sooner than later is good, so that way you can put all of those things in place, and it can even help inform you about your decision making when it comes to your caregivers, because it's giving you all of the tools and the information in hypnobirthing to make the best decision for you, whatever that is.
yeah. And I would add to that just that I would encourage midwives and doulas to partner with you, to reach out to you, because I feel like the tools that you're equipping the midwives with for their clients would make their births safer. Like, it just really empowers the birthing mom. And midwives are there. Midwives are so fantastic. They're so wonderful. They're so there for you. I've had several, and none of them have brought me through the process that you've brought me through. And because they're there for a very specific reason. It's very different than what you're doing and what you're providing to the birthing mom. So I think that would be such a beautiful connection. Is any midwives who are looking to bring their the births together, to give that mom the perfect births. This would be it. This would be the perfect combination. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
I love to partner with people who are working with expecting parents because it is such an empowering process.
yeah,
And so why not bring that in? Why not, have that be a part of those births? My mentor who I went through hypnobirthing training with, it's actually been a doula for 50 years and teaching hypnobirthing for about half that long, and said, I wish I had known about this sooner, and incorporates it into all of her births with her families now. And it's really, really amazing. And so, yeah, it's such a great partnership. It's something where, they can come and learn a little bit about hypnobirthing. For me, I can give them some tools and resources so that they understand the process, so that then any hypnobirthing parents that they're working with absolutely can, give them their preferences and they understand, because we have some shifts in language and the techniques that we use. And so I absolutely encourage too, if, there's someone out there who wants to bring their midwife or doula as their birth companion to a class, that would be amazing as well. So yeah, anybody who's watching who is one of those types of professionals that are caregivers for women giving birth, feel free to reach out to me. I would love to have a conversation.
Yay! Beautiful. I love it. I love it. I love what you're doing. I love the work you're doing, and wish I would have met you 20 years ago, 4 years ago when I started this whole birthing process.
People say that all the time. As soon as they learn about hypnobirthing, like, why didn't I know about this sooner? I wish somebody would have told me. And so that's why we're doing things like this, to really
Well,
get the word out and explain to people that there are options.
and it's not a new technique. It's
No.
not. It's been around for a long time, and that's what floors me. Is like this was available a long time ago. People need to know about it. Like, let's get it out there. So, thank you for the
Absolutely.
opportunity to come on and share, my story and be able to help people. I'm always passionate about, connecting people to real solutions and things that really help and make a difference. And so, this was definitely a priority of mine.
Yes, thank you again so much. And again, anybody can reach me at Psyched Up Success. And whether that's individual hypnotherapy, hypnobirthing, all the things, they can learn about the programs that I offer and do that deeper dive. I say, go on there, click on hypnobirthing, learn all about it, because it is something that, like you said, more and more people need to be aware of. So thanks again, Jamie. I really appreciate you sharing your story with everyone. And I know that we all wish you all the best. We're so excited for you with this new baby who is going to be here soon. Like you said, beginning of October. So we'll come back. We'll have another conversation and follow up on this and share with everyone how this birthing goes for you.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much. And thanks for tuning in, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.